Just think of the, just think of that, movies.
I know,
Silence is golden.
Exactly.
the silent movies.
Welcome to the June 8th Select Board meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. And if you could stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We don't have any public comment? Okay. But I do know that we have some department comment from the Council on Aging.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Lee. I'm from the Council on Aging, serving as their director. I just wanted to take a moment to personally invite Groveland's older adults, families, caregivers, and all of our community members to the 3rd Annual Engagement Celebration and Symposium taking place on Saturday, June 20th at the Pentucket Middle High School. The doors open at 9:30. Program kicks off at 10. This is a free community event designed to bring people together around aging well, connection, support, and practical resources. We'll have workshops on topics like brain health, aging in place, solo aging, movement, wellness, and creative ways to support quality of life. There will also be resource tables, lunch for those who register in advance, and opportunities to connect with local organizations and others in our community. We are also honored to welcome Dr. John Ziesel as our keynote speaker. Dr. John Ziesel is the author of I'm Still Here, A New Philosophy of Alzheimer's Care, and his work offers a hopeful and very deeply human way of thinking about dementia, memory loss, and how families, caregivers, and communities can offer support with more understanding, creativity, and compassion. We will also have his books there through generous donations from the community. So again, people that register ahead of time, why can't I think of the words? And so as long as they are available and people come on in, they will be there at the check-in desk. Just one of the things I really love about this event is that there really is something for everyone there, whether you're already connected to the Council on Aging or this is something brand new to you. It is a welcoming day for helpful information and just a really positive atmosphere to be in. So registration is free, but again, we do ask people to sign up in advance so that we can plan for lunch. You can register by contacting the Groveland Council on Aging, and we would really hope and look forward to seeing everyone there. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to ask, but that is my update.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Could you just confirm the date and time again?
Absolutely, thank you. So the program Engagement Celebration and Symposium takes place on Saturday, June 20th. Doors open at 9:30. Program kicks off at 10. We do acknowledge that it is a very large parking lot, so we do have a golf cart available for those that might need assistance walking to the front doors. We also have the van available for transportation for Groveland residents. Thank you.
All right. Discussion and possible vote. The first agenda item is Groveland Youth Soccer 4th of July fireworks fundraiser. Discussion and possible vote on a request for a special event permit to allow Groveland Youth Soccer to utilize Shanahan Field for a community fundraising event and viewing of the City of Haverhill 4th of July fireworks display on July 3rd, 2026.
Hi, Patrick Molina, 7 Savory Lane. I've been asked to speak on behalf of this for the Groveland Youth Soccer. I'm a member of their board. This is an event that I personally went to last year. I had a great time with myself and my daughter. The people that were there seemed to have a lot of fun. It's fundraising. It's using a resource that we have in town that would otherwise not be used at that time, and just a really good time. One of the board members put together a flyer. I'll have you pass around.
Yep, oh, very nice.
It looks even better in color.
Well, this looks pretty fancy. It's got a lot. Oh, I agree with you. It's a great event, and I didn't go down to it, but I saw people coming down the rail trail, cutting from the other side of town and converging. It was really neat to see all these people.
Yeah, it's just
Coming at it.
it's just another great way to
Yep.
bring people together in town.
It is, yeah.
Any,
I make a motion to approve the permit for the, it's July 3rd, correct?
It's July 3rd unless Haverhill moves the fireworks, in which case it would track that, because
Okay.
that's really
So the
that's
plan-
really the main event.
So do we have to make the rain date contingency too, Rebecca, then on the vote? Is that all right? Because we may not meet, right?
You can do that.
Okay, so we'll make it, approve the permit for July 3rd as well as the rain date for the 4th of July fundraising event down at the Shanahan Field.
Second that.
all right. Any questions, Ed?
No, good idea.
Nope.
Kathy, any questions?
Nope, I'm all set. It's great.
I just have one question. Has there been arrangements made to have a detail officer if necessary? Have any of those conversations taken place?
I don't believe that those discussions have taken place. I don't believe we had one last year. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But we're certainly amenable to whatever the town deems appropriate for the gathering.
So the executive coordinator had shared the application with all of our departments, and as you'll see up on the screen, and we can share this with you, there were some comments that were received, and specifically with the police department, they said that with the band and the large gathering, they would like to consider a police detail. So as part of the drafted permit, Annie did put in place that there would be a detail associated with the event in coordination with the police chief.
Okay.
We have a lot of police officers on duty that night anyway because of the bridge and the traffic, right? So
Sure.
it'll
I
be
mean,
covered.
no, of course.
Yeah.
All right. And then I realized Becky's remote. So Becky, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I was going to bring up actually the police detail as well too. I guess when looking at this, I know the field permit use will be a future agenda item. So seeing the town department comments on this are insightful. And I think it'll be something for all of us to keep in mind when we're talking about that process improvement for the field use permitting process. But all of this made sense. It looks good. It's always a great event. So I'm excited to go to it this year.
I do see that the event time is listed at 5 to 9:30. I think we ratcheted it back to 7 p.m. So maybe that might ameliorate some of the concerns because it's not quite so long.
7 to 9:30.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds good. Are the bathrooms in usable shape down there or not?
I'm sorry?
The bathrooms at Shanahan, did we have to close those or what?
They
one-
usually open them during the event, or they have historically.
Right, but we're replacing them, right?
So we are looking to replace them, but they are currently in use.
Oh, so they're functional?
They
Okay, no,
are.
that's what I was wondering. It suddenly occurred to me whether or not they were.
No, for sure.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Any other comments or discussion?
No,
All right. I guess we'll do a roll call vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve? Yes. Ed?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Next agenda item is FY26 budget transfers.
Thank you. So as you'll see in your packet, I had put together a memo detailing the budget transfers that we're looking for fiscal year 2026, which is the current fiscal year. Some of these are not new items that we've talked about throughout the year. The total of transfers that we're looking for is $147,400, and we do have available funds within line items to cover the additional costs. So in the packet, you'll also find a breakdown of the items that we're looking to transfer. So we're looking for a transfer of $10,000 to go towards legal. We're looking for $30,000 to go towards technology, $40,000 to go to repairs and maintenance, and then $34,000 to overtime in the police budget, as well as $20,000 for part-time officers. And then in the fire department budget, we're looking for $6,000 to go towards drill wages, 4,000 for per diem wages and 2,000 for fuel. And then in the highway budget, we're looking to transfer $1,400 to CBA allowances. And for background, working our way back up, for the CBA allowances, we had the money in our budget, but we had not allocated it towards the line item. So we just created a new line item last year called CBA allowances. Originally, as part of the collective bargaining agreement, we had incentives that were just listed in the expense line item. And we figured that for proper budgeting and making sure that we're fulfilling our obligation, we should create a new line item so we can track that appropriately. The $1,400 is in regards to the sick time buyback, and we had not moved that over accordingly. We still had it in wages, so we are looking to put it in the correct line item and just to budget for that properly and to show that we're transferring that. So it's almost like an interdepartmental transfer, but again, for tracking purposes, we wanted to do that. In the fire department, it's the same. So I believe it's the equipment and supplies has excess funds as well as the EMS certification and call wages that we can take from that department line item and put them into the budgetary items that are lacking. Again, this is something that's in the department, so it's not requiring any additional funds. It's just reallocating them and showing where those monies are being transferred. So again, we can track that accordingly in the future. For example, we're showing that drill wages is coming in short year after year. So from a budgetary perspective, we need to do better about budgeting for that line item. The same with per diem wages. And then fuel, it can fluctuate based upon what's happening in the market. But again, it's just something that we want to track moving forward. For the police, overtime and part-time officers, as you're aware, we've had some vacancies. So it's really important that we have proper staffing. And we do have excess funds in the communication line item due to the transfer to the North Shore Regional 911. So we're taking those funds and we're reallocating those so that we can properly make sure that the department is staffed until the end of the fiscal year. We do hope to have those positions filled in fiscal year 27, so we do hope it's a temporary situation and a one-time thing. But again, we had those funds to cover from within the department, so that is also good to hear. For facilities, for repairs and maintenance, the excess is in regards to the new doors that we needed to put in place, and that's also because of the the transition to the North Shore Regional 911. And so as part of that, we did take that money from the communications wage line item so that we can properly, again, maintain for those infrastructure improvements moving forward. For technology, this has been something that we've been talking about for the entire year. So there is a change this first time in fiscal year 2026 to consolidate all of the technology line items. And what we really saw at the end of the day is that a lot of departments were covering a lot of their technology expenses from their expenditure line items and not necessarily the software line items that were associated within their department budgets. So consolidating that all into one line item really was telling in regards to how we are managing our technology funds. So we were able to make adjustments for fiscal year 27, and we do hope that we are on track. But it was definitely a transition year for that line item. And we've been watching that closely since the beginning of January. And then last but not least, the legal line item. We did have a transfer that we made at annual town meeting. However, just due to a lot of the issues that we've been confronted with, we wanted to see if there was any way to add any cushion there in case we needed it. Again, the mindset is that if we don't need it, it's going to fall back to free cash in the line item that it's currently sitting in. And if we do need it, it's allocated properly so we don't end the year in a deficit. All of these transfers have been reviewed by the Finance Board at their June 3rd meeting and have been approved. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Any questions, Kathy?
No, I thought your explanation, or Ellen's, I didn't see who wrote it, was very good and made a lot of sense. I mean, there's nothing less to guess about here. We understand it.
I agree.
I don't have anything.
Becky?
No, I watched the finance board meeting, so I got a lot of the questions answered at that meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to transfer $147,400 from the line items as shown in our packet to the line items just discussed, also shown in our packet.
And I'll second that. All right, roll call vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Next agenda item is Pentucket Regional School District Enrollment Assessment Methodology, discussion regarding correspondence to the Pentucket Regional School District concerning enrollment calculations utilized for member assessments and possible direction regarding next steps, presented by Select Board Member Kathy Castronelis.
Okay, well, I'm not a solo act. I was accompanied by our town administrator, but thank you. So I threw together some very quick slides because I thought, how can I explain this quickly and make it make sense? And so we've already had presentations before about minimum contribution, all that, but what we haven't really spoken about is the issue that we've found in the enrollment. And go to the first slide, thank you. Our assessment is calculated in 2 steps. The first is the minimum required contribution, and then we are paying, as always, above that, as have the other 2 towns. Pentucket has always paid more than its required minimum contribution for education, something I think we're all pretty proud of. But the second step is an allocation that's just based on enrollment, nothing else. So enrollment is a big part of this. Enrollment is used in the minimum required contribution, but there are other factors such as assessment data, relative income, and growth in the town that comes into play, as well as some weightings on the types of students that are in your town. We can go to the next slide. Oh, no, I didn't do that one yet. So you're on 3, right? Did I leave that in? Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Never mind. I'll go by yours. Yours is better. This is my old one. I'll use this. So we're requesting for Pentucket to use the DESE October 1 enrollment. You would think that would already have been the case. But we have come to find out that that's not the case. We have the basic rationale is consistency, transparency, and predictability. And so why does this matter so much to Groveland? Because over 60% of our budget is based on this one assessment from Pentucket. A small change in our enrollment share can have a significant impact, not just on our operating budget, but on the amount of override that's assessed to our residents. So we need to have some way to reliably forecast it or look ahead down the road a little bit and figure out, are we going to grow faster enrollment-wise than the other 2 towns? Okay. Okay, and as you know, we have a current cost environment. Everything is going up so very fast. It's very hard to keep up with. The state aid is not keeping pace with that, either state aid to the town nor state aid to the school. We recognize that. We also recognize that if we're not able to plan ahead for what our fair share is going to be, cuts to Pentucket result in negative impacts to class sizes and quality of education, something we don't want to see happen. So in looking through things, it came to our attention first when there was a discrepancy in 1 year in the enrollment. It turned out to be that 2 totals hadn't been added within the actual budget enrollment sheet, and that ended up being corrected, and Groveland received a reduction to what it had been assessed. A second error was caught later on, a much smaller error, a certain amount of students that we were being charged for that we already paid tuition for. That error was not corrected because the assessments had already been issued, and they said, we're not going back for that. So instead, we started looking forward because it started to occur to us, like, where did these enrollment numbers come from? What can we tie them to? So we realized there was a discrepancy, and we went and, in a nutshell, we went back to DESE, and we got the raw data for 1 year. We were only able to get data for Groveland because we need permission to get Merrimack's and West Newbury's, but using just Groveland's data, we were able to determine that Pentucket is definitely not tying its enrollment data to the DESE enrollment numbers. They don't match. And that's a big deal because now we have no way to know what does this enrollment, why is our enrollment different from the enrollment one, the October 1? We have no way to tie our numbers. We have no way to check our assessment. So if we can go to the DESI numbers, then all three towns would be able to look on the DESI website. As of January, you'd see the enrollment number for your town. We could verify it. Our regional agreement refers to the October 1 enrollment as the enrollment assessment piece, and using a single source for this type of data will avoid the kinds of errors that we found in looking back over the data. This should secure the enrollment data going forward. So I don't know if I put it in the slides, but we did have a meeting last week. And tonight, the action that's being asked for is the other two towns attended the meeting, as did their town administrators, and they all agreed right away they want to use the DESI enrollment number, even if it means more money from them or more money from us. It's fair, it's consistent, it's reliable, we can all see it, we can all tie to it. So the action being asked tonight is to have this board review the letter and vote to allow our chair to sign the letter along with the chair of the other two towns, so that a letter signed by all three towns is presented to Pentucket, requesting that they use the enrollment data, which they are providing to the state. They input this data to the state. So it is their data. I did do this one little table just to kind of show you a quick look in time for the data that we were able to look at. You can see the differences are small in this 1 year. That doesn't mean they'll always stay that way. If we don't tie to the DESI numbers, we just have no real way of knowing what kind of a live enrollment number Pentucket's coming up with. And with changes in staffing or even changes in superintendent, this could change again. So the one comment I'll address is I know that the Pentucket superintendent said, well, we've been doing it our way for a while now and no one said anything. That is true. That's true. It never occurred to me, honestly, that they weren't using the enrollment numbers that they gave to DESI. I never thought to compare the two numbers until we found those couple of small errors. Well, one was a big error, but those errors made us realize that the enrollment worksheet wasn't tied to anything that we could verify, and that started the discussion. So yes, Pentucket has been doing it this way for maybe as long as 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. Ever since we went from the supplemental budget vote to the two-step process. But our regional agreement does point to the DESI, the October 1 enrollment, as the enrollment to be used, and DESI has a good handle on the students that the district is financially responsible for, and it's their job to track that, and it's Pentucket's job to report that accurately. So the point is to kind of straighten this whole mess out without having to go back and look at old data and find any more mistakes. We're not in that mode. We're trying to look forward and look down the road and say, okay, let's get this on a straight path now, and then we can reliably look at our enrollment number and say, okay, what do we have growing in town? What could change our number? What might change in the other two towns? And we can start to plan for our percentage share. So the request would be for this board to vote to allow our chair to sign, just the chairman signs, right, Rebecca? Just the chair signs the letter that the chair of the other two towns will also sign. And my understanding is they're looking at this letter during the same period of time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So if that's the case, I will make a motion to allow the chair to sign the letter as drafted in our packet.
I'll second that for discussion. I guess, Becky, any comments or questions?
Yeah, so after reading this letter, in looking through the supporting information with it, I agree with the sentiment of this letter completely. I also want to share my appreciation for Kathy's diligence on uncovering this discrepancy and working with the town administrator, Merrimack and West Newbury on this and putting this communication together. So I know the regional district towns were continuing to engage with our state representatives. But this finding isn't something we have to wait for a change in the state's process, so it's something that's implemented quicker. So every step in improving this process is important. So I just wanted to thank you, Kathy, for really focusing on this. I know it was probably making you a little crazy at times, but I do appreciate it. So that's all that I had. Thank you.
Jason, any comment?
No, I'm also very appreciative, and hopefully this moves forward with all three towns.
Ed?
Yeah, what is Groveland's benefit in dollars and cents? How much less would it be?
In answering that question, I want to preface it by saying the reason for requesting the enrollment be standardized to the DESI numbers is not to necessarily save us money. In some years, it may not save us money, but at least we will have the consistent and transparency of knowing that we can tie that budget enrollment number to the enrollment number the state's using. In this particular year that I looked at, it's hard to gauge it. I think off the top of my head, it might have only been about $50,000 under the cap in the operating budget. But then you have to also take into account, let's not forget, we have a very large building override that is being completely assessed on the enrollment number. And that hits different households in different amounts depending on the valuation of your property. So, over the years and years, this could end up with a lot of inequities and, it could cost more money for Groveland. It seems to be right now costing us more money. That's not to say that when our apartment building go in and our actual enrollment is done and tied, we may go up more. But at least we'll know that that is the actual enrollment that's being used in the first step of our budget calculation. So to be consistent in the allocation of a budget, you should use the same measure in the two steps. You should not be changing that measure. And again, in deference to the superintendent saying we've been doing it this way for years, no one said anything. The towns were never consulted as to changing the enrollment methodology to something other than what was being reported on October 1st. And again, that is cited in our regional agreement.
Follow up.
Sure.
Obviously, if Groveland's goes down, one of the other municipalities would have to go up. How receptive would they be to change what is in effect right now if their assessment for the high school is going to go up?
It's not just the high school, it's pre-K to 12. But I'm going to paraphrase what they said, and Rebecca can jump in if she wants to, that they said basically the same thing that I'm saying. If it's tied to a legitimate enrollment number that we all agree on, that's filed with the state, that's used to calculate the minimum contributions and the foundation budget, then whether we go up or down doesn't matter as long as it's fair, reasonable, transparent, and accurate.
All right.
Well, I think it does matter to the taxpayers if the price for the school is going up, it certainly would matter.
It's not going to change this year's assessment whatsoever, Ed. What I'm trying to explain is that the enrollment that we all agreed to is the October 1 enrollment that is filed by Pentucket with the state under the Department of Education and Secondary Education. And I think Rebecca asked DESI, and they provided a table that showed that over, 5-7 years, Pentucket's numbers have not tied to what they're reporting to the state. And it needs to be the same. It's just a matter of the correct way to allocate a budget. You don't allocate a budget on two different standards. And you don't want them to manipulate the numbers to allow two towns to pay less and vote the budget through, and the other town has to, suffer through it. We just want the thing to be accurate. And by tying it to DESI, we can also avoid those mistakes, which did cost us money, Ed. They did cost us money, and we didn't catch them until afterwards, and only one of the two mistakes was corrected. That saved us about $150,000. But it's hard to catch these kind of errors if we can't tie to a total number. It requires an immense amount of time, and we don't have the staffing here to do that kind of detailed comparison, nor does the regional agreement allow for that. The regional agreement says specifically the October 1 enrollment should be used. It's very clear.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, kind of outside of all the hard work that Kathy's been doing on this with the town administrator, one of the things I wanted to take a look at was, are we an outlier in our agreement and having that October 1st date and things like that? So part of what I looked at was our agreement, which does specifically state that we'll use that October 1st number, but then with the assistance of the town administrator, also looked at about 5 other regional districts to see if their agreements were similar, and they all are, from what I saw. Now, that's a small sample size out of, I think there's 82 or 83 regional districts, but it seems like it's pretty common that that's the number that should be used. It's stated in the agreement, so it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that we're not using what is explicitly stated in the agreement. I think we should do that going forward.
Right. I don't know, did we give them a copy of the Triton sheet in the packet?
Yes, we do.
Okay, maybe we could put that up. So Triton, we looked at their regional agreement. I didn't. Annie and Rebecca looked through that. And we're recommending that to be the format. They tie directly to the state DESI numbers, and in fact, within their budget, they include a link. So you can go to DESI and you can verify that the totals that are being assessed to their member towns are indeed the totals that have been reported to the state. So to me, it takes all of the back and forth out of it. All the stuff we've been going back and forth with Pentucket on, I think, will be cleaned up with this.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. When you establish a way of doing something that's consistent, and you take that guesswork out of it, it really will prevent any conflict between the towns in terms of, well, this is going to cost the taxpayers more or less, because it could change from year to year. But now that the formulas would be set, and as it is set in the agreement to begin with, there is no what if you did it this way, what if you did it that way. This is the way it is because it's spelled out that way, and we all agree this is how it should be done.
Right. Ed, anything else?
Almost set.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. Becky?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
Yes.
So we'll get that signed and sent. Next agenda item is FY26 board goals and priorities. So last year we had spent a significant amount of time putting together kind of priorities for the board. And I think the purpose of this discussion is determine if we want to remove anything, add anything, modify anything. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to look, but I guess I'll start with Becky.
Yes, I guess at this point, we can remove the trash and recycling contract for financial stewardship. But I was curious if there was another cost-saving opportunity. If there isn't, I mean, I know, Rebecca, you're always looking for one, but if there's nothing like in particular concrete, you could just have this one fall off. The other one with enhancing transparency and engagement with residents through multi-channel communication, I thought about possibly renaming this to strengthening public communication, transparency, and resident engagement. So keeping the town's communication and transparency by leveraging social media platforms, I think that's really relevant and important. The other piece was let me see here, strengthen relationships with the community by fostering more meaningful interactions between select board members and residents at Groveland events or places. So meeting residents where they are, increasing visibility, and creating approachable opportunities for open dialogue to collaboratively share with the select board during select board time and reports. So part of my thought process with that was, I think we all do our best to attend the town events. I know I need to, sometimes it's difficult. I work full time. Steve, I know you work full time. And it can be difficult to attend these events or be in certain places. But I'd like to sort of put this on the board to make sure we have an effort to meet residents where they're at. Making sure, Groveland Day is a good example. I know, Jason, you're good about being in the town tent for the day, but maybe good for a rotation or for others to join that as well. I know Pumpkin Fest, just being a little bit more visible. I do have office hours. They're not always super exciting, but I may shift those to maybe be at the library at times. I think I wanted to add something that would just help the board think outside the box a little bit to help broaden our engagement with residents.
Sure.
That's really all I had.
Kathy, anything to add?
These are all of our goals on this one page, that's it? I thought they were longer. That's it? That's everything? That's
Yeah, I
not-
think it's the main goal, and then the measurement is on the right, which is really like the individual.
Okay, well, I echo what Becky is saying. I almost kind of like the idea on like Groveland Day, maybe members of the board, we could have a table and we can do it in pairs or something for a little bit of time and let people just pop by and tell us what they think, if they don't like something, or ask us a question. Because, we think that everybody knows everything that we know, but they really don't. Sometimes I don't know everything we're supposed to know. But, and even with the trash cans coming out and we know things are changing, people are asking me questions, and I'm like, well, I know we're getting the carts, and I know it's changing. I don't know what day our route will be, but, all those kind of things are things that people, want good, strong communication on. They don't want to have to hunt for it. But sometimes they just want to tell you something or ask a question because they're confused by something. And they don't necessarily want to have to come to a meeting and make a whole special trip. So I think trying to get some members of the board at different events, and if members of the board don't mind coming back and saying, by the way, while I was there, so-and-so asked me this, and I was able to tell them that, it'd be nice to know. What are people asking questions about, or what are people concerned about? Because sometimes we think we know, and sometimes we're not sure what they're concerned about. I thought, well, do we need to do a survey and have people prioritize the things that we're working on and tell us what they think should be most important? But surveys, they are what they are. The one thought that I had, and I don't know where it fits under these categories, I guess under infrastructure and capital, maybe. So years ago, this town voted down a senior center. Didn't want to spend the money. And now we put up a tent with Jersey barricades, which personally, I know people enjoy meeting each other there. That's not what I'm against. I just think we could do it better than that, without having to build a whole building and have an override. So I look at, a couple of factors in town, like, well, we always seem to have a water shortage, right? So we have this enormous green lawn in the front, and we're not going to water it, right? We're not going to water that grass. So would it be up to the board members to put together a proposal through CPA for a passive recreation kind of structure that would just provide shade and seating for people to gather and read a book or play games or whatever? and make some better use, maybe do something more with the monuments for our veterans there to honor them a little better. Maybe it could all kind of be tied together. Again, at maybe not a huge cost. Maybe it would be a tent that goes up, or maybe it would be a more permanent structure. I don't know. But it does seem like we should be able to do better. Because I look around us and the towns around us have definitely done better. So if you want to think about parts of our population that we're not really serving as well as we could, that's a part that we're not serving as well as we should. And there's a nice big green lawn that we're not going to keep green. It's a waste of taxpayer money. So does that go in as a goal or what? What is it? I don't know where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be potentially a goal.
Right.
We probably have to think about what it would
Okay,
look
and
like.
I mean, if the board as a majority doesn't feel it's a board goal, that's fine. I can go at it another avenue, but I thought we're all here every other week. Might be a fun kind of project. And so, other than that, I thought, you might want to reword the Pentucket agreement, because if this letter goes through, we've really cleaned up a big part of it. So the only remaining part is that we sent in an agreement that the state is just sitting on. I don't know that we can do anything with that.
Well, not necessarily. So if you recall, there were amendments made back in
Yes.
2019.
Yeah.
And from what we're told through DESI is that they did not go through the proper channels to get those approved. So there were many other items within the regional agreement that stood uncorrected at that particular point in time.
Okay.
And therefore, they had redlined the agreement quite extensively beyond what the original amendments that we were going to put forward. And therefore, they said they would not consider those amendments unless we went through the whole process of amending the entire agreement to update it to where DESI believed it should be. So we have a lot of work in regards to the regional agreement for the Pentucket Regional School District, unfortunately.
Okay, so could we do that in 1 year, do you think? I mean,
We started the effort, and it didn't necessarily get us the results that we wanted. And then with some of the changes that were happening in some of the other communities, it kind of took a
Got
back
pushed.
burner.
okay,
So I do think that, once there are some changes made in West Newbury, we would be able to, again, sit down and resume those conversations. But we could potentially do that without really necessarily having those changes in place as well. We could go through the same process we did last time, where we ask each community to assign a member, if it's not the same members that we met with in regards to the enrollment.
Yep.
Start to initiate those conversations a little bit more. I think it just really kind of takes a lead on that. So if the town would like for Groveland, we can initiate that lead and try and get the other communities together and start those conversations.
okay, and so we have the redlined document?
do.
Oh, okay, so, yeah, so why don't we set that as a goal, to get the Pentucket document cleaned up and back to DESI before other towns get ahead of us, so sooner better. I mean, we had the amendment, so all we have to do is look over the red line.
Correct. So they have some questions that they had posed in regards to some of the amendments that they wanted to see included as part of the agreement. So once we get those meetings back in order, we could probably get a draft, hopefully by December timeframe. Again, if the other communities are on board, but we would need to start initiating those meetings and meeting more frequently to make sure that we had that finalized in a decent amount of time prior to town meeting, because it does require DESI approval prior to going to town meeting for approval.
Okay, yeah, no, I that's worthy, okay. I wasn't sure where that whole thing stood. I knew they had redlined it, I just didn't know whether we were allowed to go change everything. So we just need to bring it into agreement with what they want and put our amendments back in.
Correct.
Okay. That should be,
There were a lot of redlined edits.
yeah, but do you think the towns are going to have a problem? I mean, if DESI says you can't do it, you can't do it.
No, it's just a lot of work, but we can get it done.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
I just didn't want to mislead the board, because there were extensive amount of corrections that they had made and questions and, language that they struck through, et cetera. Again, not on the ones that we were proposing, but on the
The-
agreement.
The existing agreement was old. Yeah.
Sounds
So-
like it makes sense to keep that one on there.
Okay, yeah.
Would it make sense to bring it to the board for us to hash out
Yeah.
some, and maybe be able to give a little bit more direction to it?
Definitely do. Kathy, anything else on the goals?
Well, I see the safety improvements under roads, but I guess what I'm looking for more is an overall improvement in safety on our road travel. I just feel that, especially with the results from that traffic study highlighting that like 7,000 cars went through that intersection of Salem and Washington, which clearly shows that we have become the cut-through of choice. I know that other towns were able to widen their 25-mile-an-hour zones. They seem to have a wider range of roadway that is encompassed as you approach places of high density and intersections where people may be trying to get across the road. And we have somewhat limited 25-mile-an-hour zones. And I know that most people understand coming off the highway in Georgetown that if you're flooring the gas pedal, your chances of getting a ticket are pretty nearly 100% sure. I don't know if it's the same on the different roads in Groveland based on just my observations. I feel like we need to do more to ensure that we maintain what we like to call a rural environment. It doesn't look like a rural environment sometimes during the times when people are really speeding along the road too fast. So I don't know that it's really just painting lines on the roads. I think there's more to it than that. I think it's an overall approach to driving in the town, educating people, explaining to people too, like if you're just trying to get your child over to the middle school, going 45 versus 35 really isn't going to get you there that much faster. So why not go 30 and slow down the people behind you? You know? I think we have to decide as a town how much are we willing to work at trying to protect our rural characteristics so that both residents and children and people walking dogs and bicycles can still traverse the town safely. I'd like that to be like a separate goal, as kind of an overall road safety goal.
Jason?
I think when you start looking at the distance from the intersections in terms of reducing the speed limits, there's specific rules, sight and safety distances, the 10-mile-an-hour rule that need to be looked at, addressed, and matched. I know Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 90, 17C, is something that they lean on a little heavily when it goes to those. So it's just good to keep those in mind when talking about those specifics. And the traffic study is a good source of information for the number of people that were actually speeding and breaking those limits. I know that they mentioned when they were here that some of those signs were a little far from the intersection, and so they didn't quite understand why they were so far away. So I think they have to take a lot of that into consideration. And then as far as the structure for the Council on Aging, I think we may want to open up some dialogue with Nichols Village and see what their plans are for that property they purchased on 8 Main Street. Because I know that when they were looking on Garrison Street, they were working with our Council on Aging and using a share-use portion of the building, which I thought was phenomenal. And if they have any plans to move forward with 8 Main Street to do something similar, I think it would be great to open up some conversation now. One, so we can find out where and when something like that could happen and what we could do to help facilitate and make something like that happen for the seniors in the town.
Do you think that Nichols Village is going to build a senior center?
No, if you remember the conversation with 36 Garrison Street, they were.
Well,
wanting-
yeah, that would have mainly probably benefited people from outside our town, moving in the overflow from Bethany, would have moved into Groveland.
Right,
I mean,
they had a big room that was twice
they had
the
a
size of
room
this.
that they were going to open up on occasion. I'm talking about a structure that's designed and maintained for, 100% for our residents.
Okay.
And not just the older citizens, the younger ones from the library as well. I mean, it's a nice space out in front of our town hall. And there's monuments that are there that could be better showcased, as our veterans.
Anything else to add, Jason?
No, I'm good.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So the two things that I thought might make sense to, because I look at these as kind of short-term and long-term goals. I think one thing that I think because I know some progress has been made, but there's still work to do. I think we should add a goal to continue to work with the town administrator to make some progress on the Valley Screw Building. I noticed that wasn't one of our goals, but I think
Ah,
if there's anything we can do to support those efforts, we should be, one, staying up to date on what's going on, and two, doing whatever we can to work on that. So that's one that I would like to see added. And then the other thing that I thought, just based on some recent conversations, and I know we have it on there, is, kind of getting updates on road maintenance and things like that. I wonder, and it kind of ties into some of the stuff which I agree with you on, Kathy, the road travel safety goal. Maybe we need to kind of take a slightly different approach to how we're supporting the highway department with those efforts. I'm not sure what that looks like yet. And actually, that brings me to a suggestion I wanted to make. Would it make sense because I think all of these are great ideas, would it make sense for us to kind of individually take these back and write up what we think they should look like and vote on it at our next meeting? Or would you prefer to vote today? I think there's a lot of good ideas. I just don't know if we have enough structure around them yet to incorporate them into the goals.
I think that's, a good point. If I can jump in, what I would love is to see all the ideas that we throw out incorporated into this framework that we have.
And then we kind of choose from them, sort of?
Right, and I just, I don't want to overwhelm us with too many, but I also think that the issue of road maintenance and the lack of funding for that our highway superintendent was honest with us in saying that he's not really keeping up or getting ahead with the amount of money that he's able to get from the state. So the question is this something that residents would want to have a capital override proposed now and again to jump forward and fund several streets at a time? I don't see how it could come from other budgets, to be honest, at this time. The budget's just so tight. I don't see how we can take it from any other budgets. So the only thought I could have would be what we did years and years ago, which was to take time to propose based on the road maintenance plan, a set of roads, and this amount of money would be for those roads if people are willing to vote that capital override for that 1 year. Because that was my understanding. It was a 1-year override. It went to those roads that were listed, nowhere else, and then it was gone. And if you didn't like what happened, then the next time someone comes up with that idea, you just say no thanks. Or maybe people would say no thanks anyway, and then we would know they want us to still stay within our budget. But I just feel that the presentation that we heard showed us that the amount of money the state is providing is not sufficient, that we kind of fell behind there for a few years while they were doing sidewalks. And, you know,
So one of the recommendations that I recently made in the Monday communication that I send, or Friday communication that I send with the board to keep you updated, was that after that conversation and having conversations with the town accountant as well as the highway superintendent, we had determined that we could put together a better plan moving forward in terms of the data that Arthur could extrapolate from the civil database that he's invested in and the database that he sent you all a log on to set up so that you could see that data yourself as well. And we had talked about potentially not having to, again, go back to the taxpayers per se, but utilizing our free cash in a way for one-time expenditures so that we could then allocate a certain amount of money and set that aside for 5 years or so based upon what we can forecast as what we've received thus far from our free cash, and kind of put together a plan to add monies to the Chapter 90 funds that we receive in addition to the Fair Share Apportionment Act. So again, alleviating the financial burden of the taxpayer through the monies that they've already collected through the tax base. Again, we're not sure exactly what that would look like, but we've started to assemble a draft of that plan that
Okay.
uses the PSI data that Select Member Baker had referenced when communicating with Arthur and putting together that list as to what roads we could accomplish with how much money we get allocated annually for Chapter 90, in addition to how much money we could allocate for our free cash to stretch that plan further so
Yep.
that we could get that done maybe in a faster time frame than what we could if we only relied on Chapter 90 monies. In addition to that, we're taking a closer look at when we do that, those roads that have sidewalks and other infrastructure improvements, what we could also look at for grant funding for complete streets and mass works, et cetera, so that we could then couple those funds with, again, that plan, so that when you are getting those improvements, you're looking at an entire roadway instead of just the pavement as well, on those that make sense. But again, it would be a plan that would take into consideration all those factors, and instead of, again, using a capital overlay, use free cash and not go back to the taxpayers for those additional monies to push.
I like the idea. I
Yeah,
guess
right.
what I would like to see is that it becomes a goal to get this going.
Yeah,
Because that would be my biggest concern, is not to lose any more time. So at least make a start on it and grab a couple $100,000 of free cash or whatever, 300,000, or whatever, and match it and see if that makes, how much improvement do we see in the road paving?
So that report, we're hoping to get to you by the end of July.
That'd be
And it's going to
perfect.
have all of the roads that were already completed, all the roads that are outstanding, and it's going to give you all of that background as well, so that you can then alter that as you see fit and see whether or not it suits your needs. So we can add it as a goal, but I'm just letting the board know that we have plans to get this to you, again, by the end of July, so that we can move this
Right.
forward accordingly for the next fiscal year, when we go to town meeting, if not sooner, and we have a special town meeting and additional monies are needed at that particular point in time. So we do hope to get that to you sooner rather than later, but I'm open to adding it to the goals.
I'd like to see it as a goal, just because, you know, and I know it comes from separate places, the way we improve our parks from CPA, but there's also the thing that the taxpayers say, well, the roads are falling apart and we're building a new basketball court, you know, come on. Well, can't we do this a little better? And your plan sounds like it would be the perfect fit. So I think to highlight it more as a goal, we'll bring it forward for transparency, communicating to the public that we hear you, that you're not happy with the road deterioration.
agreed. So would it make sense for us to carry this to our next meeting and give ourselves time to kind of write up what we're thinking and then vote on it then? Because I think there's a lot of,
Well, somebody has to assemble it all before the meeting, that's what I'm thinking.
sure.
Right, Becky?
Yes, that's what we did last time, yes.
But I mean, I don't mind, like, send
I can do that.
Steve or Becky assembling, I'd be glad to send you, you know, any ideas are good. I think everybody should just throw in, and then we'll just weed through it, right?
Sure.
Or you'll weed through it and organize it.
Somebody want to make a motion to allow one of us to do that?
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion for Steve to do it, Becky, okay?
I love it.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion for Steve, for everybody to send Steve all their ideas on goals, and Steve is going to mastermind organizing these thoughts, and then we'll decide how many of them we want to keep and we don't want to keep. Right?
Sure.
That'd be great. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion and a second. We'll vote. Or any discussion? No? All right, then I'll take the vote. Becky?
Absolutely, yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to Main Street Community Trail Parking. Preliminary discussion regarding parking conditions, potential parking restrictions, and related public safety considerations in the vicinity of the community trail access area on Main Street.
Thank you. So you'll see in your packet, I put together a memo in relation to this particular situation. At the last meeting, if you recall, during town administrator updates, I did call your attention to this particular issue. So as you're all aware, we were able to partner with National Grid to secure 6 parking spaces adjacent to the sewer pump station as part of National Grid's pressure release valve project that they were putting forward on the site. And as you'll see in the aerial imagery, the purple box is the area in which the parking spaces are located, and the the pressure release valve is around where the cursor is over here on this side. So while the parking area has been successful, the popularity has resulted in additional parking spaces that were used prior to these being constructed for additional parking along Main Street, which has caused some issues in regards to the roadway deterioration, and it's also caused a couple of residents to be concerned about safety along the roadway for those exiting their vehicles and those driving on the roadway. I would like to point out that as part of the project with National Grid, we do have signage coming in place that would direct those who are looking to use parking for the trail to park in those designated spaces. But the question has come up as to whether or not we want to prohibit parking along Main Street. And I know this was something that was brought up during the Conservation Commission meeting in regards to prohibiting parking along the roadway, as well as installing boulders around that particular area to prohibit parking. This obviously has caused some discussion internally as to whether or not that is the appropriate course of action, and it has also called question in regards to jurisdiction, as the jurisdiction to enact parking regulations falls within the Select Board, especially along the public right-of-way. We do recognize that any improvements and or plans would need to go through the proper permitting, which could result in a notice of intent, whether through the state or local, with the Conservation Commission. But in regards to the direction as to whether or not the town would like to prohibit parking in that area, we wanted to bring it to those that had the authority to designate such. So would the Select Board like us to install no parking signs along Main Street in that particular area? Would the Select Board like us to look at other alternatives for parking? Would the Select Board like us to shore up the area and allow parking within that vicinity? Potentially also trying to incorporate a walking path from the current spaces that are not along Main Street?
Yeah.
Does the Select Board want us to take a look at the other area across from the purple box on the screen on the other side of the driveway and look at installing additional parking spaces? Or again, would the Select Board like us to prohibit parking and look at alternative parking solutions at other trailheads along the community trail, such as originally discussed as part of the construction efforts with National Grid on King Street, as well as some of the other areas that we could identify that provide a safer area for individuals to access the trail. So again, as we've discussed on other matters with the Select Board, the jurisdiction to enact parking falls to the Select Board under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22. We have a process that we have enacted in other areas of town in regards to how those regulations would be enacted, which is included as part of the memo that was provided to you, such as a placement on an agenda as a notice requirement, a public meeting and vote, and then publication of the adopted regulations. So again, as you'll see, the next steps in board direction, the staff is just looking for some guidance from the Select Board as the jurisdiction with the authority to provide such as to what you would like us to do moving forward in this particular location, and for, again, also just identifying parking potential elsewhere along the community trail. And again, there is also a map included as part of your handout. It's probably difficult to see in the black and white, but you will see the wetland delineated on the screen, and it is a very highly sensitive area. So the roadway already is deteriorating into the wetlands and causing problems there. So in any event, we will need to address the deterioration of the roadway from further deteriorating again into that wetland area. And you'll see, as I've detailed in the photo, there's a couple of different zones that we're contending with. You have the pink line, which indicates the 20-foot local buffer zone. You also have the green line that indicates the 100-foot, and then you also have the blue, which is the 200-foot riverfront area. So again, whatever we do, if we were to make any improvements, would need to go through a permitting process, which would require additional engineering and time. So that would be something that we would need to consider. But again, not necessarily that we wouldn't prevent us from moving forward, but it would require a different response based upon what the select board would like to see.
Myself, I've always said that parking's not nearly enough of what it should be with a lot of different things within town. So I would like to see the parking along the street continue and to be shored up and widened. I can't imagine that there's anything more devastating to the wetlands than the salt that we shove into the wetlands when we plow the roads as it is. So I don't believe that 5 or 6 parking spots along the road are going to be devastating to the environment there. I would also like to explore parking across from the existing parking that's there now on the other side, another 6 spots there, as well as additional parking at more of the trailheads, just for convenience. I mean, the picture that I had previously sent you, that parking lot was full and people were parked on the street, and that was midday during the week, not even on the weekend. So I know that it could get a lot more use than it's currently getting, and it's getting a lot of use, which is great. So I'm all for more parking.
Kathy?
It's hard to tell from the drawings, but I guess I understand the concerns about the roadway caving, and I could see it happening. I've also noticed sometimes that the parking lot has empty spaces and there's still cars parked on the side. So they're choosing not to use the parking spaces. So what I'm wondering is, and again, I'm not an expert on what all these lines mean, but the space between the parking lot and the trail, is that the more sensitive area or not? From the parking lot along the road to the beginning of the trail?
So
Oops.
the pink line that you'll see is the local buffer zone, and you'll see that the green area over here is the resource area.
Okay,
So that's a more sensitive area, as
Right.
well as when you get further back, as you'll see on the bottom of the screen, you'll see the same type of delineation right here where the cursor is, where that dark green is. Those are the resource areas. Those are the more highly sensitive areas. But the buffer zones are really kind of what dictate what can be done in certain zones, and that would be all under the Conservation Commission.
Okay, but so when we talk about the parking along the road, there were 2 concerns raised. One is safety, which I agree with. As a long-term solution, I don't want people getting out into that traffic. It's kind of near Stacy's Curve, and people are flying some days. But in the interim, is there any reason why during the weather when there's no snow, they couldn't park on the grass area there? That we couldn't just open that up, on the same lot where the parking lot is across, from not blocking the driveway in, but the other side?
I think with the amount of traffic we have, it would quickly turn to mud.
It wouldn't be usable?
So the idea would be to make it usable if that's what the board wanted, and we would be able to, again, not impact the current use of the water and sewer department from utilizing their building.
Right, I wouldn't
You
want to
wouldn't
do
just
that.
want to leave it grass. If you were going to do something, you would want to at least make it gravel and defined as an area.
Right, because I mean, at most I see like 3 cars or so. I mean, I go by there all the time, back and forth. So I see like 3 cars at a time on the roadside and then the parking lot. So if we were to just try to put a sign that says, you know, closer to the wetland area, no parking, protecting the wetland area more, and then direct people to an additional parking area, could we do that, or would that be a huge endeavor?
We
Would
can
that
certainly do so, but we would also need to seek approval from the Conservation Commission, because you'll
Okay.
see in that green line, that's the 100-foot buffer zone. So you wouldn't be able to put anything in there without going through a process.
Okay, so we can't go up to that
So you
green line?
wouldn't- You have to get their approval in order to actually create that parking
Okay.
area under
And-
the Wetlands Protection Act.
And then across, I mean, when we first talked about this trail opening years, you know, it seems like it's a long time ago, but there was also a talk of the area across the street where the power lines go over. Is that property at all open for parking, or is that not available to us?
So the area over here by 24-6.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is a access road to the
Yep.
substation, and then it's National Grid property. That's what we have right now. We have a lease. It's not necessarily town-owned property given to the select board to manage. So we would need to seek their approval, and from my assessment of that situation, being the area that we would have available, it's not wide enough to accommodate. And where we're looking to continue the trail on, it would not be safe either to have parking on that particular area when we're going to be constructing and connecting the trail into Haverhill.
Oh, okay.
So we do own well, we don't own, we've been in conversations with the property owner for a parcel that's beyond the substation that you see in the corner of the screen. But
Okay.
again, the way to get to that, it's not very easy with the grades and the access and the substation.
Okay.
Ed, any questions?
Yeah, some comments. I mean, it's nice to see the rail trail. I get the usage that it does. And coming down that way tonight, all the parking spaces by the water department driveway, all but one was in use. I think there was 3, maybe 4 vehicles parked along the dirt area on Main Street. Occasionally, you come by there at a warm night, and you'll see vehicles parked up by the building, the pump station there, and along the driveway. So there is a lot of people parking there. And also, and it's also nice to see in the morning, the students pedaling their bikes along Main Street by SD Park, heading for the rail trail, taking their bicycle to school. That's really impressive. But maybe behind the substation, there might be an area there out of the way that you could utilize. And either that, or go through the process with the conservation to park on the opposite side from where that 6 or 5, whatever parking spaces are there. Go through the process. But it's probably just going to get worse. And I know when it was put in, they can park at the Shanahan Field and walk down. They're not going to do that.
That's too far.
Even though they're there for the exercise, they're not going to do it. It'd be very rare for them to park there and walk down. So they got to have trailhead parking. And also, just expanding on that, today, I don't remember what time it was, but going out Center Street at the rail trail out there, there were 2 vehicles parked on the side of the road, narrowing that section. They tried to get off the road as far as they could. So that's going to become a problem at some point. And I don't know what you could do there. And it's same on King Street. They do park on the side of the road there going into the Mass Electric substation. But, yeah, I'd see the substation off of Main Street. Behind there should be plenty of parking. And eventually they'll run the trail continuing on to Haverhill.
Becky?
Yeah, so when reading through this and going by it quite a bit, this does appear to be both a safety and environmental issue. I have observed people definitely parking along the street even when the parking spaces are available. So my take is thinking short-term, long-term. Short-term, I am for putting in the boulders and a no parking sign. Have a sign that says, no, this is the Main Street parking lot, and note any additional parking can be done at Shanahan Field. Long-term, have a plan for enhanced parking at Main Street and King Street access points. And Ed, I hear what you're saying, park at Shanahan Field to walk to the trail where they're gonna walk the trail, is an interesting concept, I guess. But I recently did the Newburyport Clipper Trail, and a lot of theirs were the same. So they have, you go through streets and it'll say no parking, or they have this one trailhead, the one access point, it has 2 parking spots. When I looked ahead of time to find out where should I park to access the Newburyport Clipper Trail, it specifically says there's 3 spots at this trailhead. You can park here, you can park here, you can park there, so that it just advertises the different places to park. I ended up parking at the train station and walking to the trail. So I don't think that's necessarily a foreign concept, but I think it, like I said, splitting this up into short term, just stop what's happening now, but thinking long term to help enhance the access points and the parking, because once we connect to Haverhill, it's going to be busier. So to not just come up with a plan today that won't fulfill the need for next year or whenever that will be happening. Would be ignorant of us to do that, to just come up with a temporary solution.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, two things. I echo what Jason said. I think we need to find ways, and what Ed said, I think we need to find ways to expand parking availability. I don't like the people are parking along the street there, so if we can stop that, that's good. But I also don't want to make it, I want to encourage people to use the community trail. One thing I did notice, and I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, but when I was looking into this, I noticed there's a site trail link where the trail's listed. We don't mention where people can park on that site. On our website, we have the community trail page, which is from the project, but it doesn't make any mention of parking. So I don't know if we could update some of those resources so people know where the available options are, because I think that may be part of why we see that lot, those parking spots empty and people parked on the street. They don't know that they can park there.
There's handicap parking, right? How many of those spots are allocated?
I believe there's only 1 parking space at
Okay,
that particular.
so when we see an empty parking space, it's because it's the handicap spot and people didn't take it, which is what they're supposed to do, right? I mean, I'm just wondering, looking at this, I believe it's at most 2 or 3 cars that kind of park, kind of past the parking lot on the edge there towards the trail. If we push them back to that area on the other side of the drive, along the edge of the road there, would that be a temporarily better place for them to park on the edge of the road? If the parking lot is filled? Because what I really hate to do is to shut down access to the rail trail with boulders and no parking signs. Just wow, we just got it open and now we're going to say, yeah, sorry, you can't go on the trail today. We don't have room for you.
With regards to the boulders, it's not advised by any staff to put boulders along a roadway. It is
Yeah,
a
I
clear
don't.
safety concern, and it does
Huge
not
safe-
allow for proper plowing.
Yeah.
And it actually is more dangerous as people can hit the boulders.
Yep.
But we just need direction from you all, which is why I put it on and asked for it to be an agenda item. Do you want us to restrict parking, or do you want us to take a look at how we can create parking in that area? But we need a little direction from the select board, and specifically, do you want to restrict parking on Main Street for that section, or however much section, so that we can put proper signage up and we can go through the proper process of advertising and ensuring so that the police can actually enforce it. Because if we don't do it properly, the police can't write tickets and they can't enforce it. So
Well,
the direction of the board is important for us to then go through the next steps.
I mean, it took us several years to get all the cars off the sidewalks by Shanahan Field. So, I mean, to me, I don't want to do something this summer that upends the use of the rail trail. I'm just asking, is it preferred, if we were looking for where we prefer for them to pull off to the side, if the parking lot is full, if we could put a sign there that says rail trail parking,
Yes.
that would be helpful, I think, so they know that's not for the pump station, because
Correct.
people that have lived in town a long time might say, oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to park there. And then the grassy area before there, if we could designate that kind of as trail parking, temporary trail parking, until we come up with a better idea, unless you guys come up with something better than that. I mean, I'd rather encourage people to park in a better place where they can be off the road and not falling into that gully, right? And I thought this was more level, right? Do you know where I'm pointing to?
So further back where these cars are located, right
There-
here?
No, go this way, go down.
this way?
Yeah, here, there, that part of road. What's that like for parking? Could we fit 3
I
cars there?
haven't seen many vehicles park in that vicinity, but
Correct.
again, we can take a closer look, and I can have the highway superintendent consult the MTCU guides in terms of traffic safety. But we'd have to take a closer look in order for me to give you an answer.
So, yeah, I mean, I would try putting a sign up that says trail parking, and if it seems reasonable to allow overflow parking there, put it there and see if we can push the cars voluntarily backwards, away from where the thing is caving in. Unless, again, you are the expert, the highway is the expert. If they feel this is extraordinarily dangerous situation with anybody parking that close to the trailhead on the side, we need to know. I don't want to put boulders up, that's for sure.
The biggest takeaway from the highway department was just giving them an alternative path to get to the rail trail that wasn't on the street. The parking wasn't necessarily a concern for the highway department at their first review of the situation. It was, again, them getting out of the car, getting the stroller situated on the roadway side, instead of giving them an alternative way to get to the trail, not on the roadway.
I like that idea, too. I like that very much, because, yeah, it would be better if you're getting your children out and their bicycles out, that you don't have to do that in the road.
Agreed. Ed, I think you had something you wanted to ask or
Yeah,
mention?
look, parking prior to where they are right now, what Kathy is suggesting, a bad spot. They're coming around that blind corner.
blind corner, yeah.
And you got to be able to see, and so moving it back doesn't make much sense. It makes it more dangerous. And I know there is a guardrail there, but if you look at the debris, the guardrail's been hit numerous times. So that just makes it more dangerous than
Yeah.
where they're parking right now.
All right, so does anyone want to
Well,
propose?
I'd like to just make a motion to put a sign up that says this is the rail trail parking lot for starters, and then if there's anywhere else you think people could temporarily park,
So let's do that one first.
come up with that.
Uh,
Yeah.
So we have a motion to put up signage to designate that as rail trail parking.
I think that's already in the process, so we don't need
It's
to
already
make
been
a...
ordered. It was
Yep,
just waiting for
okay.
it to be there, but we
So-
can make a motion and solidify that.
So moved. Second it, Jason.
Second.
All right,
Thank you.
Second. Any discussion on that? Sounds
No.
like it's already, oh, good.
To me, you don't need the sign up there. It's being used now. So why go to the expense of putting up a sign? If the people didn't think they could park there, they wouldn't be parking there now. And they are. During the day, at night, it's just an expense that I don't think is needed. It's being used, and they know what it's there for. So I think that doesn't make sense.
Jason, any comments?
No, I mean, the signage to park in the parking lot, I think, is important, just because I know, like Kathy said, that there's times that there are spaces there and people are parked on the street. And I'm fine with people parking on the street, but I think it's important that they know where they are supposed to park. And so, yeah, I think the signage is important, and I think parking on the street where they are parking is also important.
Becky, anything to add?
No, the only thing I would maybe want to understand, I know you said, the highway department had their assessment, they didn't have major concerns yet. As far as the wetlands go, I'm curious, what the impact is based on today of what that's looking like. I'm all for, trying to softly guide people to the parking lot, seeing if that fixes the problem. But in the meantime, really understanding the environmental impact that people are there to see nature. They're there to be outside, not destroy it. So I would just like to understand what's, the wetland part of it.
Yep, that makes sense. So
Yeah,
the
I think with the erosion, I think that's probably the biggest concern on the side of the road, because there's no grass holding the dirt, and the dirt is starting to bleed off into the wetlands. And I think that by widening the road, it will also secure the road and make sure the road is stable, and it'll also stabilize the side and prevent it from rolling off into the wetlands. And like I said, I mean, all the things that really the most damaging to the wetlands is the road salt that we push off there anyway.
So
So we have a motion.
right now, we have a motion and a second for
Yep.
the signage. So
Yep.
let's vote on that. So Becky,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
No,
Okay, I have a second
I
motion.
do too, so you want to go
Oh,
first? Go ahead.
oh. Is yours about the path to get to the thing?
So mine was going to be that I was going to make a motion to ask the town administrator and the highway department to expand parking at the existing trailhead, subject to safety, environmental, and permitting.
Okay, I was going to make a motion that I like the idea of them looking at a way to make a path so people can get to that trail with their bicycles and strollers without going in the road. Because right now, there's no sidewalk there.
Correct.
Could we just make that a friendly amendment to my motion?
That's fine with me.
Okay, so we need a second then.
Yep.
I'll second that, because that still would consist of widening the road there.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on expanding the parking at the existing trailhead, subject to safety, environmental, and permitting, and adding additional access.
Well, access to the trail without going in the road, because I think that's a big deal.
So that is motion
Yeah.
and second. Becky, any discussion?
Nope, I feel good about it.
Kathy?
No?
Jason?
Good.
Ed?
yes,
Oh, we're just discussion. For any discussion on that motion?
no.
Okay, and none for me. So take a vote then. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
Yes.
Great.
All right.
Well, who seconded that motion?
Jason did. All right, next up is Affordable Housing Trust. Discussion regarding the potential establishment of an affordable housing trust, including review of applicable bylaws, organizational structure, and possible next steps.
So this was something that I had talked about during the town administrator time, and then I believe that select board member Baker had also expressed interest in hearing about the potential next steps. And so I had asked the chair to see if we could put this on as well, just to give you an update into what I've been working on behind the scenes. So as I had mentioned at the meeting during the town administrator time, I had a meeting with the Massachusetts Housing Partnership to discuss some resources that we could bring to Groveland in order to enhance the discussion about affordable housing trust and what an affordable housing trust does, and how it works, and some of the benefits that are associated with the trust. So we are also working on a dedicated project page to be available to the public shortly, which gives a little bit of background on some of the initiatives that have been put in place already in regards to affordable housing here in Groveland, starting with the original implementation plan that was put in place back in, I believe it was 2023, with the establishment of the buy-down program, which unfortunately was unsuccessful, but still provided guidance as to how we could move forward and the potential opportunities that a program like that could offer. And then also the latest report that was issued by Innes Land Strategies in regards to the creation of affordable housing trust and potentially trying to use CPC funds to enact a repairs program that current Groveland residents could take advantage of if they met income requirements. So that webpage would have all of those resources, all of that information, and it would also provide a mechanism in which we could use online surveys and interactive ways to engage with the community to hear feedback about affordable housing and their thoughts, their concerns, and things of that nature. So essentially, for a timeline as to how we were hoping to proceed is that I wanted to launch that project page and get all of the information out there and start sharing it. I also reached out to the Newbury Affordable Housing Trust to see exactly how they've been able to utilize their Affordable Housing Trust and take advantage of the CPA funding that they have in place. The mayor sits on the trust, and in working with him, he said that he and his team would welcome the opportunity to come before the select board at a meeting and discuss what they do for their Affordable Housing Trust, and again, how they've been able to use it for their advantage. So on that note, they would like to see if there's any dates that the select board could offer so that they could make arrangements so that they could be present again in either virtually and or in person, explain to you their experience. We can also take a look at the North Andover Affordable Housing Trust. They also have a very successful housing trust, and see how they've been able to utilize theirs. But where Newburyport was forthcoming about wanting to help us and to guide us, I thought that would be a great opportunity, and would give us some of the feedback that you might be able to use to your advantage while weighing the options. Then also, we would like to work with the Massachusetts Housing Partnership and to do a presentation or a Affordable Housing Trust 101 kind of interaction so that they can give you a little bit more information about the Affordable Housing Trust, how they operate, how they're structured across Massachusetts, and the different ways that they're taken advantage of by different communities based upon their varying different priorities, because every community is different. Then we would like to try and do maybe more of like a public workshop in addition to that in the September, October timeframe, and again, engage with residents and hear from them about what we've already learned, what we heard, and some additional information that the CPC has shared with us in regards to the structure that they would propose, and kind of, again, engage more in that conversation as to the proposed structure here in Groveland. And then again, continuing that collaboration with the Community Preservation Commission, I believe they're already having conversations about how they can allocate some of the CPA funding that they currently have into an affordable housing trust if an affordable housing trust were to pass at the April meeting in 2027. So the intent of this process, I want to be clear, is not a predetermined outcome. It is just another way to try and engage with various members and groups within the community, as well as our other organization and our neighbors, and try and get as much information out there as we possibly can, because the greatest feedback that we heard from the select board when the article was being discussed is that this is the first time we're hearing about it, and you do not have enough time and resources to go about and examine whether or not this would be, in your opinions, in the best interest of the community to move forward, or felt comfortable moving forward without having additional information to give the community an option to decide such at the annual town meeting, which would ultimately require a town meeting vote in order to move forward. So again, this is just some of the timeline that I was putting forward in terms of trying to bring this forward for the next town meeting, and again, trying to be thoughtful about our approach, working collaboratively with the Community Preservation Committee in unison and not necessarily independently, so that we're all on the same page and that we all have the same information. So I welcome any feedback or any suggestions in terms of what's being put forward as to things that you would like me to see focus on, or if you would like me to not move forward and redirect my efforts.
All right. Ed, any questions?
No.
Jason?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. I mean, the more public workshops that we put together, I think the better, just so the public has their input, and the more knowledge that they have about it, I think it'll make everything work a lot smoother.
Kathy?
Yes, I have a fair amount of comment. I am interested to learn more. I would like to see Newburyport come before us, but I'd also like to see a town more similar to our size and makeup that has this come to us and talk to us in person?
That's been the challenge. West Newbury is fairly new with their affordable housing trust, and they have not necessarily had a very active housing trust, so they haven't necessarily done anything with it. We can use their structure and their governance as what they've established as an example, but they haven't necessarily done much with it. And then most of the other communities in which they are similar to us but not, are not necessarily geographically the same, so they're more so in the Acton, Concord area, so a little bit different than what we have here at the Merrimack Valley.
Okay, well, I'd still like to hear from the West Newbury about, you know, why they haven't done anything, what are they thinking? I'm just curious as to how they're regarding it, because they are more similar to our makeup than a city like Newburyport. Because here, I have several concerns, and it's mainly because of my lack of understanding. I understand some of it and not all of it, and as fast as I feel like I get some of the facts straight, I know that the two pools of money, the CPA money and the money held by the planning board, cannot both be used for the same purposes, is my understanding, right?
I'm sorry, they can't be used for,
Any and all purposes that, you know what I mean? Like this, there's some that could be used towards a repair program and some that cannot.
so the CPA money can be used for a repair program, but not through CPA. It needs to be given to an affordable housing trust to
Okay.
administer
And
such programs.
What about the planning board money?
So that one is to create affordable housing, so the actual creation of affordable housing,
That means building, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
not
So,
just building.
well, yeah, so the planning board now for what, 20, 30 years has been putting aside this money. And now it's at how much? 1 million?
It's about $800,000.
Almost a million, okay. But nowadays, we all know how fast $1 million can disappear, right? So that's my other concern, is that it'd be very easy to take this money that's taken years to build up and expend it on engineering and other studies and have nothing different happen in the town. So, you know, like, I'd like to see, like, what would a 5-year plan look like in this particular town for this type of an endeavor? What would they do? And that's why, if West Newbury is doing not much, I'd like to know why. Maybe they have, would have similar problems that we would have. I'd like to understand that better. I also knew that the Council on Aging did a fairly extensive survey of residents in town. And I think some of it was about housing, because the other thing that keeps coming to my mind is what the state defines as affordable, or somebody who needs help, is probably below what somebody in Groveland is having for income, and they do need help. Do you know what I'm saying? Our definition in Groveland of people that we would like to help is not probably the low income that the state would target. So my concern would be that we'd be taking, in the one hand, CPA dollars, taxpayer dollars, and yes, it's nice to help people around us, but if we're really trying to help our town first as a part, if this endeavor is really first and foremost to be helping the people in this town, if that's the goal, I'd like to see what we can do and how we could do it. Because, you know, to me, that would be important. The 5-year plan of how are you going to help people that are already in this town, that have invested in this town and paid taxes in this town, and now are what we say cost burdened. How are we going to help them? I'd like to know the how before we go ahead and start putting a committee together that has access to, what, over $2 million, right, when you put it all together. That's a sizable amount of money, but it took a long time to get this money. That's what I think people don't understand. It took a long time to assemble this sum of money. So if we're going to actually try to spend it the best possible way we can, shouldn't we take the time to survey other towns similar to us and find out what ways they have found to use it productively?
We can certainly talk to West Newbury. Like I said, I think that they had some turnover, so there was more than anything else, but I can definitely talk to them. And in regards to the planning board money, I would like to just clarify that the planning board money is from people who came into this community and
Yeah.
built in this community.
I know.
And instead of providing affordable housing said, we're going to pay you so that you can provide your own.
I understand that.
So it was not necessarily, the intent
Correct.
was always, the town passed a bylaw to create affordable housing. And all those years, the town has not provided affordable housing. In addition, the CPA has to vote, and they have to go before town meeting before any access to those monies are given. So there are multiple approvals that would need to be met before you just dole out the entire umbrella of affordable housing funds that you have sitting aside in CPC that have come from the surcharge over years and years,
Okay.
not doing much.
I,
So just to clarify, it's not.
no,
just a
I know
bucket of
there's,
money sitting
I
there.
know there's checks and balances. My concern is that it took a long time for the town to accumulate this kind of funding. And that if we're going to put together a trust that can use that money productively, I'd like to know overall, what are the possible plans? I'm not telling, I don't want to sit there and direct the trust and say, you've got to do this and this, but I would like to know what are the possible scenarios that could be accomplished? Because what I do want to avoid is what we went through with the Garrison Street project. It upset a lot of people. They felt, that they weren't working with the town, they're working against the neighborhood. I don't want that to happen. I don't want us to be working against neighborhoods.
Becky, anything to add?
Well, the only thing I had, I think this approach, I do like it better. I know we talked a little bit before about creating, like a study committee, but I think this is a thoughtful approach to just educating the town as a whole on this trust. I can also see, and I know, Rebecca, this is like the start of the structure, and I think it's great that Newburyport wants to come and speak to us. I can see this evolving with maybe some additional subject matter experts as we learn more about this process, just because it is fairly new to us. I think also inviting CPC members to attend these meetings with the guest speakers to share information collectively and sort of have a little bit more alignment with that committee. But the end result based on this is for everyone to be on the same page to define the best approach for this, right? Because I think hearing this CPC meetings, they really are hoping to put this through as an article for next town meeting. So sort of working with Rebecca to define our syllabus for our learning plan on how best to make this work, but have that alignment with CPC. I think it seems like a good approach.
I agree. I think from my perspective, I agree that we need to have the right structure in place, and I do think it's good to learn from what other communities are doing. Similar size is great if there are ones that exist. And I do think having some level of plan or understanding before we, say, yes, let's do this is really important. That being said, there's a whole bunch of taxpayer money tied up that can't be used in any way until this is established. And I don't feel like that's okay either. Like, residents have paid into CPC, money in the affordable housing part is just sitting there and it can't be used. So I think while we need to be careful with how we use that money, we can't just lock it up forever. Same with the money that the planning board holds. So I think that's really important. I think the other thing that I remember, and I don't remember the specific details, but I think that there were certain things that we couldn't determine, like having a consultant come in and help out until we set up the trust. So it's sort of a chicken before the egg thing. And I think at some point we have to kind of push ourselves out of the nest and get the trust established so that we can start using those funds to help residents in town. I'd like to see us be in a position by next town meeting to, either say yay or nay on this. And I think this approach looks pretty good to me as far as getting information, absorbing it, and then kind of figuring out based on that what our next steps look like. And I'm glad we're talking. I wanted to bring this up now. That's why I asked for it to be an agenda item, so that we're not talking about it for the first time in January. It's much better to be doing it now and have 6, 8 months to go through it and really get the in-depth understanding we need to all be able to support it. I don't know that we need to vote on anything related to this at this point. Maybe to authorize the town administrator to set up those meetings. That,
Yes, if, in advance of the meeting, if Newburyport and any other town that's done some work in this area, if they could forward their projects, how they've spent the money, that to me, for me, that would be very concrete. That would give me something I could actually say, okay, I understand what they're doing with the money.
I can, as part of that project page, I can link to their pages, and they have extensive success stories as to how they've been implemented, whether it's a repair one, whether it's working with like a non-profit like a Habitat for Humanity and creating housing. There's multiple different examples that they've been able to show, whether near or far. So I can cite all of those and bring those to your
That would be great. And as far as the Council on Aging survey data, is that,
We could ask
Are-
Alyssa if she'd be willing to share that with us, and we can put that as part of the
Yeah,
the
'cause I-
feedback and see if there's anything more housing focused, like you're mentioning.
I believe housing was some of the questions on it, if I remember. I did the survey quite a while ago.
We can certainly do that.
Good, thank you.
so I'm going to make a motion that we move forward with the town administrator's plan as laid out in the June 5th memo.
Second that.
All right. Any discussion? Ed?
No,
Jason?
No.
Kathy?
No,
Becky?
No?
Okay, then take a vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
yes,
All right. Moving on to appointments and resignations. Resignation of James Scanlon from the Finance Board effective June 1st, 2026. And does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept Jim Scanlon resignation from the Finance Board.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Just want to thank Jim for serving on the Finance Board. I worked with him for a while on the Finance Board, and he used to kid me about running for the Select Board. And he used to say, nah, I'm not going to do that. Look where I am. So thank you, Jim, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, I'd echo what Kathy said. I've talked to Jim on a number of occasions, wealth of knowledge, and really appreciate all of his service to the town. Any other conversation? All right. Then I'll vote, we'll take the vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
Jason?
Yes.
Steve? Yes. Ed?
Yes,
All right. And resignation of Bill O'Neill from the Finance Board effective June 4th, 2026. Want to make a motion?
make a motion to accept the resignation of Bill O'Neill from the Finance Board effective June 4th, 2026.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
I'll just thank him for his service on the Finance Board.
Becky?
Yeah, I also want to thank Bill for his service and his honest voice. I also wanted to echo a little bit of Bill's sentiment from the latest Finance Board meeting that, you know, we really do encourage all residents to get involved and stay informed. Local decisions really matter, so I encourage people, per Bill, per us, right? Follow our town's social media channels, sign up for town alerts, watch our meetings, ask questions, share information, and take an active role in Groveland.
All
And
right.
thank you, Bill.
So a motion and a second, so we'll vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
Yes,
All right. Moving on to approval of the minutes. We have meeting minutes from April 6th and April 13th. Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for April 6th.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All right, take the vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes. Ed?
yes,
I'll make a motion to accept the select board meeting minutes from April 13th, 2026.
second.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay. Then I'll take the vote. Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jason?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay. Steve, yes. Ed?
Yes.
So 4 in favor, 1 abstention. All right. Older unfinished business, committee, board template, recreation committee, and town meeting study committee. I think we can drop the town meeting study committee, but I believe the recreation committee discussed this at their meeting last week. So we're making progress on that. I don't know if, we do have the chair of the recreation committee here if he wants to say anything.
Patrick Molina, 7 Saber Lane, this time here as Chair of the Recreation Committee. I spoke with Member Baker about exactly this, and we've had a productive discussion, and we're going to move forward and work together to get a template set up.
Sounds like a plan.
Anybody has any questions or anything, I'm happy to discuss.
I have a not the template question, just a in general question.
Sure.
The lights at Washington Park, are they on a timer? Because they were on like when it was raining and no one was on the field, and I thought,
I'm not aware.
I don't know. I mean, I've never, I don't know how they control
that
them. Do we know how they get controlled?
So I know there was an event down there that started and then got canceled because of the rain. I wonder
Right,
if they had just
probably.
been turned
This
on
was a
and not
while
shut
ago.
off.
But I mean, do we, is it, so that's what I'm asking. Is it a manual turn on and turn off thingy?
For
Or what?
the field lights?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll continue to work on the committee template.
Exactly so. And I'm also on the town meeting study committee, and I believe that was completely resolved and done, and I believe we submitted our final report. I think there was also a template set in for that as well, so that should be closed.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. Other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting. I'm not aware of anything.
No.
Okay. And we will move on to select board member reports. Becky?
No, so this one is for board members on committee or external representation update. So I don't know if there were any CPC meetings or Whittier meetings since the last time.
Well, I updated everybody on the meeting, on the
Yeah.
regional enrollment stuff, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Does anyone else have any updates from any?
I don't have anything.
Ed,
No.
Jason? I don't have anything either. So I guess we can move on to town administrator time.
All right, so a couple of updates. So first, I wanted to alert the board that, as discussed at the last meeting, we have applied for a grant for the Washington Street, Salem Street Safety Improvement Project. So this is for sidewalks to be constructed from the Salem Street intersection down to VZ Memorial Park. This has been something that we've been trying to do for quite some time. We had applied for a Complete Streets grant a few years back and were unfortunately unsuccessful. But given some of the data that was collected as part of the review of the Salem Street intersection with the dam project, as well as just the intersection in general, it did provide us some additional information that we were able to utilize to our advantage to submit an application for this MassWorks, which is a STRAP funding, so it's a small town grant that we can apply for. So we have submitted that grant application. So if we were awarded the funding, it would focus on the reconstruction of ADA compliant curb ramps and sidewalks, reduction of intersection curb radii to improve pedestrian safety, to enhance pavement markings and signage, including LED enhancements and stop signs, extension of the continuous 5-foot wide sidewalk connection from Salem Street to VZ Memorial Park, address accessibility improvements at driveway crossings, as well as utility relocations and drainage adjustments necessary to accommodate the improvements. So hopefully we will hear in the fall if we are successful with our application, and if we are, we can move forward. Other updates for roadway improvement updates, just to let you all know, the crews have completed milling operations on Center Street from Mullen Street to Seven Star Road and are currently milling King Street from Katy Lane to Kings Way. Tomorrow, crews should be out and are scheduled to complete pavement patching work on Salem Street as discussed between Sunset Circle and Staunton Street. For Washington Street, Center Street traffic, I know at the last meeting you had asked for an update. We have signed an engagement letter with TEC, and they are going to begin their safety assessment shortly, including the traffic count and speed analysis and roadway safety for review. Once that's completed, we will have them come in and address the board.
Can I ask a question on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, is that gonna be completed, that assessment gonna be completed before school is out for the year?
That's the intent.
Thank you.
And then for 46 Washington Street, as you know, we have a rural rural development fund grant that we had received in regards to looking at 46 Washington Street in regards to the feasibility of the site. And so I've been keeping the board apprised of that. And so we had a meeting with the consultant and his land strategies group, and they will be making a presentation to the Conservation Commission this Wednesday on June 10th regarding the existing conditions of the site and the proximity to wetland resources. We did receive the wetland delineation from Williams and Sparagus, who performed the wetland delineation, which is actually part of the CPC project that was initiated by Selectwoman Castronellis. So we are grateful for that, and we finally have that information. And surprisingly, the site is mostly out of jurisdiction from the Conservation Commission, but they will be discussing that specifically in regards to its proximity as well as its proximity to open space resources, et cetera. So the part of this project that we had put forward was an engagement that would involve the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and then also the Select Board. So the next presentation will be to the Planning Board about potential reuse of the property, including a look at zoning. And then that final report that they assemble will be presented to the Select Board for your engagement.
On that property, do we know where the border, where the sidelines are?
Yep.
Especially the sideline like up Washington Street?
We
haven't
do.
marked- Oh, we
So
do.
as part of the survey, we did a wetland survey as well as a lot survey. So we know exactly where the lot lines are.
Okay, are they marked right now? So if I walked on, I would see them or not?
I'm not sure if they're marked. I just know that we received the plan, so
Okay.
I do know that it was conducted. I can double check if they left the stakes out there. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. When they're doing wetlands, it's usually flags that
Oh,
they
okay, yeah.
tie on trees, but for the lot line, sometimes they will put a stake in the ground, but I'm not sure, because I know we also, as I updated the board at our last meeting, had to make some improvements over at 46 Washington Street to appease our insurance company.
Oh.
So we had some falling bricks from the building in
Oh.
addition to the sidewalk and the driveway apron. There were concerns highlighted, and they had threatened to drop our insurance coverage without us taking action. So
Oh.
you will see some improvements around that area. So I'm not sure whether or not they might have removed the stakes, you know.
No, I don't. I
Okay.
just would like to see the plans, the survey.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to see the plans and the survey.
Oh, of course, it will be
So
shared
if
with
you
the
could
board.
send
It
that'd
just,
be
it
great.
honestly just came over to us today, and they're
Yeah.
gonna incorporate that as part of their presentation. And as soon as they give me their final presentation that they're gonna make to the Conservation Commission, I'll send that over to the board so that you have a copy of it, and it'll include the survey.
Good.
Other updates are the trash cart update. As you've seen, the town issued trash carts have been delivered to residents. We are currently in the process of verifying with multiple different dwellings as to how many carts that they received. I will say publicly that we have not had the greatest experience with the vendor during the rollout of the trash carts. We had a far better experience when we did the recycling carts. So we've had a lot of dropped off carts for, 3 carts at a single-family residence and having to send them back out there and pick up the carts. And there's been some other errors in terms of some of the multifamily and whether or not they had been given the proper amount of carts. So we have been going through that and trying to rectify as much of the issues that we possibly can. The Highway Department has been fantastic and is working with us to isolate those certain households that we'll need to go back out to and collect the carts. I did want to let the board know, as we had talked about, an informational mailer about the actual program that will be rolled out on June 29th is being sent out this week. So you will have that information in regards to the routes, as well as what week you are for your biweekly recycling. It does have other information that is very helpful. We will be printing copies out to have here on hand at Town Hall, in addition to, again, mailing them to all of the households. And we will be putting up a digital copy on our website. But to then go back again to the trash cart updates, we want to make sure that individuals know that each individual cart has a serial number on it.
Yeah.
So we are asking residents to be mindful of that and to not exchange, relocate, or give away carts. If we do find that you have a cart that's not designated to your address, we will take it away. It is very important to know that the reason that we have the barcode system and the codes is because it's assigned to your address. So that means that if you were to leave and you needed to change out your cart, or if we make changes in the program, we know exactly how many carts you have, what carts you have, so that we can make sure that there is continuity in the program. We also want to be very clear that if you are rejecting the town-issued cart and not accepting it from the drivers, you will not be eligible for curbside collection as of June 29th. So right now, residents, if they don't want to use the new carts, they do not have to. But again, on June 29th, if you do not have a town-issued cart, then you will not receive trash services. So again, it was not as smooth of a rollout, unfortunately, but we are trying to go through those addresses and make sure that everyone has the cart that they need. The leeway in between the distribution of the carts and when the program starts is actually very helpful to make sure that we have all of that situated before the actual program begins. And then I would like to make a recommendation that the select board schedule a 6-month program review in December of 2026 to see whether or not any additional changes in the program are necessary. I think one of the other things that we've been dealing with in my office is hearing a lot of feedback from residents about how they would like an additional cart. It's far too small. And I know that in our original conversation, we had talked about the fact that if we were to move forward, we could potentially offer an additional cart at an annual fee to those residents who would like one, or we could not. But again, something that we might want to consider. And I also have had a few individuals call about the recycling cart being way too small as well, and asking for an additional recycling cart. So while we're very grateful that people are looking at ways to recycle, the cost of recycling is also a burden on the budget. It's not free to recycle. It's better to recycle than to put things into the waste stream, but we need to do a better way or find a better job at ways that we can recycle and reduce our waste overall. So just something that I think that would be important for the select board to revisit and kind of, take a look at, how many households after the 30-day period had to downgrade from a 65 to a 35, or from a 95 to a 65 on the recycling side, how things are going with the biweekly recycling, whether or not people are utilizing the cardboard containers for the additional drop-off. And again, just monitoring the program in a little bit more detail.
On the cardboard containers, is there going to be more than one location?
We're looking at 2 locations.
And where would that be?
So we're looking at a location here at Town Hall,
Yep.
and then additionally over on the Center Street area. So whether it be at the Highway Yard, or whether there's another location on the other side of town that would be better suited, maybe even potentially Washington Park or something like that.
Right.
Open on the 2nd location.
Yeah, I would think like something that's more open than the highway yard, right? Because don't they close the gate or something? Yeah.
But we have the salt shed, and we could put it on an area that's outside of the fence as well.
Oh, okay, so you could just stop there and you drop your cardboard off if you need
Correct.
to.
I think
And-
Washington Park or by the Southside Fire Station, I think is a
Yeah.
good area.
That's a
Oh,
good
that's
spot.
that's a good area too.
And
So,
then the other thing I forgot to mention is that for those individuals who are looking to dispose of their current cart and do not want to keep their current carts
Yeah.
or their bins that they have, we are going to be doing a drop-off day here at Town Hall. We're going to have 2 events, in which case residents can bring their barrels here, and we will take them and dispose of them properly.
okay, the things you can scan on the side, are they active now? So if people scan them, will they tell them what day they get picked up?
So right now, the QR codes are directing you to what we currently have on our contract, but
Okay.
as of June 29th, and we can actually try and make that switch over sooner if you'd like, we'll point to all of the new information.
Okay, so we'll tell you when your trash is picked up, what day your road is, and what day your
Correct.
recycling is?
We could do it the week before and the last week. So we
Okay.
could change it over to all the new information so that you would be able to scan it and figure out exactly when your days are.
Okay. And it tells you what you can recycle as well?
Correct, there's a recycling 101, FAQs, things like that.
Do you think we got any additional recycling over what we had in our last contract?
From what we had with the 95 gallon,
No, I'm saying from what we were allowed to recycle. Remember, there were some items with waste management we weren't allowed to recycle, but other towns seemed to be able to recycle them.
I'd have to take a closer look at what those items were, but I think it's relatively close. There might be a few more items than we originally had.
Okay, and if somebody has, the bulk items I know will continue, but I thought also if somebody had additional amount of trash and they didn't have someone next door that could fit it or whatever, can they contact Mellow and can they go to a transfer or?
They can go to the transfer station over in
Okay.
Georgetown and dispose of any additional waste that they have.
Okay, so they do have a way out if they get stuck.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
Can I just ask one quick question on the cart rollout? Because I know that's probably, I've heard from a number of people about that this week. If folks didn't get a barrel or they got too many and they want to reach out to the town administrator's office, what should they do at this point? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion.
So it originally was going to be my office and the Board of Health, but the Board of Health, they had an emergency, so they do not have somebody in the office this week. So it has been Annie and myself manning all of the calls and all of the feedback. So if anybody has any questions or needs any additional information, you can give them my telephone number, you can give them my email address, and they're welcome to stop in. They are also welcome to, again, reach out to Annie directly and contact her via email, phone, and/or coming into the office, and we'd be happy to help any way that we can. I know I've been fielding some calls through other individuals, and we're happy to do that, but if we don't have the information as to your address or whether or not you have an AD, it just makes it a lot more streamlined if they contact us directly, and we will take care of it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Sounds good.
For other administrative updates, the YMCA Bagnell Summer Program, they have informed us that they have 16 campers registered per week already, so they're very excited to get started, and I put up the information up on the screen if there's any additional parties that would be interested in attending the program this summer. I also wanted to let the board know that the company that has, or excuse me, the engineering firm that has been working with the Water and Sewer Department has filed a site plan review and stormwater management land disturbance application with the planning board. So as part of the process, what typically happens is that the town planner will share with all of the departments when an application is submitted, what that application is, and ask for any feedback from any of the boards, whether it be the highway department, fire department, police department. The select board is on that list, so the select board also gets an opportunity to review the application and to submit any comments to the planning board for their review. So if you're looking for that application, if you go on to the Economic Development Planning and Conservation website, there is a ongoing projects, and if you click on it, you'll get the application. And I'll send that link to you directly for your convenience, but it is available to you and all residents who are interested. They have also filed a notice of intent, I believe, or I know they filed with the Conservation Commission as well for proper permits from that particular regulatory board. So at the next meeting, I was going to ask if the chair would put this on as an agenda item so that you would have enough time to go through the application on your own time and bring back any comments or concerns that we can assemble into a letter for the Water and Sewer Commission, or excuse me, for the planning board for when that goes before them, I believe, in July.
Okay.
I also wanted to let the board know that I'm sorry.
The YMCA camp, have you posted that on the website yet?
Yes, it is on the website, and we have posted on social media, but we will make another pitch as well for those who are interested. So I was fortunate enough to attend the DARE graduation that happened last week. And I just wanted to, again, congratulate the students who had completed the program. And I also wanted to recognize Sergeant Sindoni for his continued dedication to the program and all that he has done. I think one of the most consistent themes throughout the ceremony was how much the students really enjoyed working with Sergeant Sindoni. And I think that speaks volumes to his approach and his passion and commitment to the program. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of all that he does and how successful the program has been, and that it was really exciting to see the students stand up and share their essays with the group. And I was very fortunate to be part of that. Additionally, motorized bikes and scooters on the community trail have become an issue. I've heard from multiple residents in regards to the motorized aspect and what types of vehicles are, or not vehicles, but what type of bikes and scooters are allowed. I know we talk a lot in our bylaw, our general bylaws, about like gas or diesel powered motors and not necessarily battery. But it has been something that has caused some concern with some residents in terms of them walking and bikes speeding by. And so I know that's something that has been talked about in other communities, even just on the roadway. So it was something that I was going to address with the police chief and see if there's any feedback or anything, again, in regards to what we have for our bylaws that would dictate the use of such on the community trail and other locations in town.
Yeah, and also on that one, because I've seen a number of situations, I also want to understand, outside of the bylaws, like what, if any, enforcement can be done, because it's definitely getting out of hand and quite dangerous, to be honest. So I don't know that I don't know that it makes sense to wait until we can approve a new bylaw. I think we need to understand what can be done in the short term.
And we do have our general bylaws that speak to what's allowed. So it could actually be something that we can already enforce on a certain level. So it's just getting a better handle on what that is and what the police have been doing for enforcement already. But that's a very good point. So we'll continue to do our research and bring that before the board so that you're fully aware. But we have heard the concerns. They have been brought forward, and we are looking into it. I also received a request to fly a pride flag here in town. Unfortunately, I had to inform them that I do not have the authority to authorize such, that it must go through the select board. And so if that individual is still interested in seeing that done, I asked them to submit a request to the select board, and I would get that on their agenda. I know that Pride Month ends this month, so I think they were a little defeated in the fact that it wouldn't be until the 22nd. But unfortunately, I did want to, again, it's not my jurisdiction to approve. It needs to go to the select board. So I did want to make you aware that a request came through and that I informed them of the proper process. For upcoming events and administrative approvals, there is the MVMPO meeting on the 27th. The Groveland Housing Authority is meeting on the 27th, and the Planning Board is meeting, or well, already met on June 2nd. Oh, this is May. My apologies. I didn't update that section. But I did update the field use property. I did want to let you know that we have the rescheduled the bake sale that was approved for Washington Park due to the weather. And then also to let you know that one of the events that we're looking to utilize the Pines has canceled their event. So they are no longer going to be having their event on, I don't have the date listed, but it was the Family Adoption Day. And that was part of the fundraising efforts. I believe they're not associated with Sweet Paws, but they might be. So it was, one of the Sweet Paws events is still on for August, and this one that was scheduled for, I believe, also in August is no longer happening.
Okay.
But I will send you more of those details because I should have listed them out. My apologies. And then for procurement, I just wanted to let the board know that we had secured a contract to get camera upgrades over at the PD, specifically for the bookings camera and the storage necessary for the video in order to send over to the courts. For projects in progress, everything kind of remains the same in terms of what we have listed. I did have an opportunity to meet with the Office of Fishing and Boating Access down at the Pines Recreation Area the other day, and we had a very productive conversation. So I'm anticipating additional feedback from that office in regards to the next steps if the board would like to move forward with the enhancements down at the Pines. They did talk about the dock, which I think was one of the biggest takeaways from Selectwood Member Naves as to whether or not they could make an investment in updating those docks, and they said that they would be more than amenable to doing that. So I thought that was a really good conversation. So we'll be hearing more from them, and they're also making the connection with the city of Haverhill in regards to the parking lot location over by Johnson's Pond, where we were looking to put a fishing pier in and enhancing parking in that area. So that conversation has also been revitalized. So hopefully that will finally come to fruition, as it's been a long time. I think the last time we met with the gentleman was last year, maybe even a little over a year ago. But there has been some slow progress in that regard. Then the other projects, there hasn't necessarily been any updates in regards to the community preservation. I believe they should be meeting shortly to go over their grant agreement and getting those finalized and initiating next steps. There hasn't really necessarily been any developments on those other projects. The Town Hall Garden still remains something that they're working on here at Town Hall. We have not yet heard about the Washington Hall side slope, and then we're still working on getting the quotes for the backyard over at the Knox Building. For grants, as we had talked about briefly at the last meeting, we were awarded the Community Compact Municipal Fiber Grant. And as we discussed earlier, we're waiting to hear back on the Washington Street sidewalks as well as the 150 Center Street zoning. And then there's a list of some of the meetings and events that I attended in the last 2 weeks. And if there's something specific, I'd be happy to answer any questions in regards to those meetings.
Any questions from the board?
I don't know what the Washington Hall side slope is.
So on the Community Preservation Committee, there was a project that was approved for the Hydro Season parking lot over at Washington Hall. And there was a scope modification that was approved by the CPC to allow for the planting of juniper plants and mulching over in that area. During the spring, it was found that there was grass and weeds growing, and it didn't take it all. So the applicant had asked for the town to see what we could do, and the highway was a little disappointed because the highway did not favor the approach that was approved. They would have liked to see it grass so that they could just mow over it and stabilize the area instead of the mulching. So the town doesn't have the monies. I believe it was $9,512, or just under $10,000 that were used to plant and mulch, and so we don't have that type of money on hand
Right.
to
Yeah.
mulch and plant that area. So they would prefer to just take that out and seed it and let it grass over. So we're just kind of waiting to hear exactly the Historic Society, if they would like to donate funds to do that, then I guess we could consider trying to help them stabilize the slope that way. We can try and go and contact the contractor, since it was only a year ago, and see if they'll do it for free, considering the fact that it didn't take. Or we can, again, sit down and go back to the drawing table and figure out what we should do for next steps. But CPC isn't allowed to do any maintenance with their money, so there's nothing that the CPC can do. So it's really the Historic Society, or whether or not the town wants to take a different approach.
Yeah, because mulching's not going to stabilize the slope, it's just going to wash away.
So
And that's essentially what happened.
are we talking about the side hill, like for the driveway up the
So with
back?
this self-fire station,
Yeah,
the hill going up on the side,
Oh, the front,
on the side,
with the drive that goes to the side,
correct,
oh, they tried to mulch that.
yes.
I shouldn't laugh, but wow, that's quite a slope. I think they should bring the contractor back, because he should have said something, don't you think?
We can. It wasn't, that was what the applicant wanted to do with the monies, and the CPC stated that it was, a modification would be something that they would allow. So the monies were spent from CPC to mulch and plant that area.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. I
Live and
would
learn.
think, yeah, bring, you know the area, right?
Yeah, yep, for sure.
Like, it's almost like
Yeah, I
a
mean, they would-
straight
they would know how to
drop.
Put in steps to make it stable, but.
Yeah, maybe that would have helped, but planting something that's a little more.
At $10,000,
All right, well, we can talk about that more.
yeah.
Becky, any questions?
No, that was the
No.
only one.
Or you
Oh, sorry. Was that
That's
for
all
me?
right. Sorry.
I just had
Yes.
one. It wasn't on your list, but have we had any recent updates on the emergency action plan for the Salem Street Dam?
So at your next meeting, we are starting at 6 PM because we have the training with town council in regards to the decorum and the
Oh.
open meeting on the running of meetings. At your meeting in July, we were hoping to have Arthur come in and give the training, but we also wanted to extend the invitation to the Conservation Commission as well.
Sounds great.
So it is expected to be in July if we can make that happen.
And I guess we'll move on to select board time. Ed?
I don't have anything.
All right, Jason?
No, I'm good.
Kathy?
Yeah, I have two things. One is because I'm retiring from Whittier, I've checked with ethics and I will be allowed to participate in issues dealing with Whittier. So I would like to participate in the regional agreement because I have some thoughts and some ideas that could be helpful to the town. And the second thing, I know some people just use social media to get people's attention and get likes and all that, but, when it comes to employees of the town, I just wanted to say that I hold our police department, the entire police department, our chief, our captains, and all of our officers in the highest regard, and always have and always will. It's the only department that's around us 24/7, and I know, myself personally, I have the highest respect for everybody in that department, and I would think my fellow select board members would feel the same way, so I would appreciate if people have concerns or questions, then ask us a question that we can answer.
All right. Becky?
Yep, I just wanted to say congratulations to the high school graduates because Pawtucket just had the graduation over the weekend, right?
Yep.
And Whittier had theirs last week, so congratulations. Very exciting.
And I just wanted to congratulate the graduates from the DARE program at Bagnell. My daughter was part of that program, and also thank Sergeant Sindoni. They really did a great job, and I think the students got quite a bit out of it. So that was great to see. With that, we have correspondence. We had some correspondence from a resident regarding the pavement management program, and the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Select Board will be Monday, June 22nd at 6 PM. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
adjourn.
Second. Ed made it.
Becky?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Steve, yes.
Yes.
Ed, yes. Thank you all.